Captain Do-hyun Kim sat in his command chair on the bridge of the TDF Dauntless, watching the stars pass by. It was supposed to be another normal day of border patrol in the Outer Rim. That was until the radar operator called out something unusual. "Captain, unknown ship approaching from Sector 7, said Lieutenant Hae-Nul Park, her eyes fixed on the weapons console. "It's big, really big." Do-hyun straightened in his chair. "Show me." The main screen lit up with an image of an elegant silver vessel. It was at least 3 times the size of the Dauntless. Its surface was smooth, without any visible weapons, which made Do-hyun more suspicious, not less. "Open communications," he ordered. "All frequencies." The alien ship responded immediately. A holographic image appeared on the bridge, showing a tall, blue-skinned creature with 4 eyes and silver markings. Do-hyun recognized them from the briefings. A Vayari, one of the oldest species in the galaxy. "Greetings, human vessel," the alien said in perfect English. "I am Supreme Commander Sith of the Vayari Exploration Fleet. We come in peace." Hae-Nul's fingers were already dancing over her console, running scans. Do-hyun could see her getting more and more excited as the readings came in. He knew that look. It was the same one she got whenever they received new equipment to test. "Welcome to human space, Supreme Commander," Do-hyun replied politely. "I am Captain Do-hyun Kim of the Terran Defense Force. May I ask the purpose of your visit?" "We seek to establish diplomatic relations," Sith said. "Though I must admit, we are also curious about your unusual approach to military technology." Hae-Nul perked up at those words. "Captain, permission to show them our new railgun system. The Mark VI just came in last week, and the targeting improvements are amazing." Do-hyun noticed how the Vayari commander's 4 eyes widened slightly at Hae-Nul's enthusiastic tone. "The Mark VI." Hae-Nul continued, barely containing her excitement. "It uses electromagnetic acceleration to launch projectiles at 30 kilometers per second. The kinetic impact alone can punch through any known shield technology. And the best part, we've managed to reduce the power consumption by 40% compared to the Mark VI. Supreme Commander Sith took a small step back in the hologram. You sound quite passionate about this weapon system, Lieutenant." "Oh, this is nothing." Hae-Nul leaned. "Wait until I tell you about the new automated loading mechanism. We've cut down reload time to just 0.3 seconds. Would you like to see a demonstration?" The Vayari commander's silver markings had taken on a slightly pale tone. "Your species enjoys developing weapons." "Of course," Hae-Nul said. "It's like solving a puzzle. How do we make it more efficient, more accurate, more powerful? It's fascinating. Just last week, I was reading about experimental plasma containment systems that could revolutionize our torpedo technology." Do-hyun watched with growing amusement as the mighty Vayari commander seemed to shrink with each word. He had seen this reaction before. Most alien species found humanity's enthusiasm for military technology disturbing. They built weapons out of necessity. Humans built weapons because they found it fun. "Perhaps," Sith said carefully, "we should begin our diplomatic discussions with less aggressive topics." "Oh, but I haven't even told you about our point defense systems," Hae-Nul protested. "The targeting computer uses a new AI algorithm that—" Do-hyun raised his hand, stopping Hae-Nul mid-sentence. The poor Vayari commander looked like they might faint. "We would be honored to begin diplomatic talks," Do-hyun said smoothly. "Though I should warn you, our engineering team just received some new equipment. They might be eager to show it off." The look of horror on Supreme Commander Sith's face told Do-hyun that humanity's reputation was about to become even more interesting. Ambassador Jae-won Lee rubbed his temples as he watched Chief Engineer Tae-young Choi practically bounce with excitement. The joint military exercise was supposed to be a simple demonstration of cooperation between humans and the Vayari. Instead, it had turned into what the aliens probably saw as a horror show. "And this," Tae-young said, pointing at a massive cylinder hanging from the ceiling, is just our basic kinetic bombardment system. Nothing fancy, really. Just a tungsten rod dropped from orbit. The Vayari delegation huddled together, their blue skin taking on an increasingly pale shade. One of them raised a trembling hand. Just a rod. Oh yes. Tae-young's eyes lit up. You see, we don't need explosives. At orbital velocity, the kinetic energy alone is equal to a small nuclear weapon. Simple physics, really. Would you like to see the simulation? Perhaps we should move on to. Jae-won started, but it was too late. Tae-young had already activated the holographic display. It showed a tungsten rod entering the atmosphere, then striking its target. The resulting crater was impressive. The engineers in the room nodded appreciatively. The Vayari diplomats looked like they might be sick. The best part, Tae-young continued, completely missing the aliens' distress, is how we improve the guidance system. Watch this. He rewound the simulation. See how it adjusts for atmospheric interference. We used to have a 20-meter margin of error. Now it's down to 2 meters. Isn't that amazing? Amazing, yes, one of the Vayari whispered, clutching a datapad like a shield. Your species has put much thought into dropping things from space. Oh, that's nothing, called out another engineer from the back of the room. Show them the new targeting computer, Tae-young. Jae-won watched in growing dismay as more human engineers gathered around, all eager to share their latest innovations. The Vayari delegation kept backing up until they hit the wall. The targeting computer. Tae-young's face lit up even more. It's brilliant. We've integrated a new AI that can calculate impact trajectories for multiple rods simultaneously. We can hit 20 targets in under 30 seconds. A young Vayari diplomat raised her hand again. But why would you need to hit 20 targets? The room fell silent. The human engineers looked at each other in confusion. Why wouldn't we? Tae-young asked, genuinely puzzled. If we can make it better, why not do it? Look, let me show you the efficiency graphs. Jae-won stepped in quickly. Perhaps we should take a break for refreshments. He gestured toward the door, giving the Vayari an escape route. But I haven't even shown them the experimental gravity manipulation add-on. Tae-young protested. We're still working out the bugs, but once we get it right, we'll be able to adjust the rod's effective mass during descent. The impact calculations are fascinating. The lead Vayari diplomat turned to Jae-won, all 4 eyes wide with concern. Ambassador Lee, we were under the impression this was a peaceful cooperation exercise. It is, Jae-won assured them. This is just standard equipment testing. Standard. The Vayari looked at the excited group of human engineers who were now having an animated discussion about optimal rod compositions and atmospheric friction coefficients. Your people do this regularly. Well, yes, Jae-won admitted. Actually, this is quite tame. You should see them when we get new plasma weapons. The color drained entirely from the Vayari delegation's faces. Behind them, Tae-young was still talking excitedly about his plans for the next upgrade. Speaking of plasma weapons, Tae-young called out, would you like to see our new containment field designs? The energy efficiency is remarkable. Jae-won watched as the Vayari diplomats made a dignified but hasty retreat from the room. He made a mental note to recommend that future joint exercises should perhaps focus on less exciting technologies, like communication systems or food replicators. Then again, he remembered how the engineering team had reacted to the new quantum communication array last month. Maybe not. Dr. Min-ji Kang stood at the podium of the Terran Defense Technology exhibition, facing an audience filled with both humans and aliens. The humans sat forward in their seats, eyes bright with interest. The aliens sat very still, some looking like they wanted to leave. Today, I'll be discussing basic improvements to plasma containment, Min-ji said, bringing up her first slide. Nothing too complex. Just some simple modifications to increase weapon efficiency by 300%. A ripple of excitement went through the human part of the audience. Several engineers pulled out notepads. The alien delegates exchanged worried looks. As you can see, Minji continued, pointing to a diagram. The standard plasma containment field was quite inefficient, so we made a few small changes. She clicked to the next slide. In the front row, a green-skinned alien covered all three of its eyes. By adjusting the magnetic field strength and adding these resonance chambers here and here, Minji said, her voice growing more enthusiastic, we can triple the energy output while using half the power. A human engineer in the middle row raised his hand. Dr. Kang, have you considered using quantum tunneling to enhance the containment field? What an excellent question. Minji beamed. Actually, we're already working on that for version 2.0. Would you like to see the preliminary test results? The alien section of the audience grew very quiet. A Vayari representative slowly reached for his emergency communication device. The test results are fascinating, Minji said, bringing up a new set of graphs. Watch what happens when we increase the quantum probability field. She played a video showing a massive explosion. See, much more efficient. The human engineers broke into applause. Several took pictures of the graphs with their tablets. In the alien section, a tall, purple-skinned diplomat fainted. But that's not even the best part, Minji said, her eyes shining with excitement. We found a way to miniaturize the whole system. The portable version is only the size of a small car. More aliens reached for their communication devices. The human engineers were now having animated discussions about potential modifications. Can we see the miniaturized version? Someone called from the back. Of course. Minji pressed a button, and a hovering platform brought out a sleek silver device. It's still a prototype, but... She was interrupted by the sound of several alien delegates hurriedly leaving their seats. The Vayari representative was speaking rapidly into his communication device in his native language. Is something wrong? Minji asked, looking confused. I haven't even shown you the improved targeting system yet. The remaining aliens froze. A translator droid helpfully broadcasted their whispered conversation. They made it smaller. Why did they make it smaller? What are they planning to do with a smaller one? Oh, lots of things. Minji said cheerfully, having heard the translation. We're thinking of installing them on our fighter ships, maybe even making a personal-sized version. The last of the alien delegates fled the room. Only the humans remained, still taking notes and discussing possible improvements. Well, Minji said, looking at her now half-empty audience, should we move on to the new ammunition types? We've developed some interesting variations in plasma density. The human engineers nodded eagerly, moving to fill the empty seats in front. Outside the conference room, the sound of alien ships making emergency departures could be heard. I don't understand, Minji said to her assistant later. I didn't even get to the really exciting parts about the experimental fusion enhancement options. Her assistant looked at the empty alien seats, then at the enthusiastic human engineers still discussing plasma containment modifications. I think, Dr. Kang, that might have been for the best. Sun Haiyang's report to the Vayari High Command made the entire council chamber fall silent. The cultural attaché stood calmly before the gathered alien leaders, displaying images on the large screen behind her. As you can see, Sun Hai said, pointing to a webpage, this is what humans call an online forum. This particular one is dedicated to military equipment appreciation. Supreme Commander Sith leaned forward, all four eyes narrowing. Appreciation of weapons. Yes, Sun He nodded. This section here is specifically for discussing improvements to standard-issue plasma rifles. Notice how this user, Plasma Fanatic 2184, has posted detailed suggestions for modifying the cooling system. The Vayari Council members stared at the screen in horror. One of them raised a trembling hand. Are these civilians? Most of them, yes, Sun He confirmed. This particular user is actually a high school student. He did this as a hobby project. The council room erupted in whispered conversations. Supreme Commander Sith held up a hand for silence. You mean to tell us, Sith said slowly, that human children spend their free time thinking about how to improve weapons? Some do, son, he replied, though most prefer to focus on larger systems, like battleships or planetary defense platforms. A council member in the back fainted. Another quickly took notes with shaking hands. Here's another interesting example, son, he continued, switching to a different screen. This is what humans call a mod community. These people take standard military equipment and modify it for fun. For fun, Sith repeated weakly. Indeed. Look at this thread. Son, he zoomed in on a conversation. These engineers spent their weekend figuring out how to increase the range of a standard railgun by 47%. They did it just to see if they could. The council members huddled closer together, their blue skin turning pale. But surely, one council member said hopefully, these are just a few unusual individuals. Actually, Sun Hai pulled up another screen. This particular forum has over 3 million members, and it's just one of many. The room fell silent again. On the screen, endless threads of technical discussion scrolled past, humans eagerly sharing ideas, suggesting improvements, debating the best ways to make their weapons more efficient. There's more, Sun Hai said, bringing up a video. This is what humans call a weapons convention. They hold these regularly. The video showed hundreds of excited humans examining various pieces of military equipment. Engineers gave presentations about new developments. People took notes and asked detailed questions. They gather in large groups, Sun Hai explained, just to talk about weapons and share ideas for improvements. They find it entertaining. Entertainment. Sith's voice was barely a whisper. They do this for entertainment. Oh yes, Sun, he nodded. In fact, many humans consider it a relaxing hobby. Some even do it to relieve stress. A younger council member raised her hand. What happens when they actually need to use these weapons? That's the interesting part, Sun, he said. They become even more excited. They see combat situations as opportunities to test their improvements in real conditions. They call it field testing. The council chamber fell into stunned silence. On the screen, a human engineer enthusiastically explained modifications to a torpedo guidance system to a crowd of equally excited listeners. I recommend, Sun Hai concluded, updating our first contact protocols. When meeting humans, we should be prepared for their enthusiasm. Supreme Commander Sith nodded slowly, watching as the video showed humans practically jumping with joy over a new targeting algorithm. Perhaps, Sith said quietly, we should also update our defense strategies, not because the humans are hostile, but because they're excited, Sun Hai finished. Yes, that's exactly what makes them so dangerous. Commander Dong Hyuk Yoon sat in the captain's chair of the TDF Intrepid, smiling as he watched the space pirates scramble to escape. Behind him, the Vayari diplomatic vessel hung back at what they considered a safe distance. What they considered safe and what humans considered safe were very different things. Pirates detected in Sector 4, reported the sensor officer. 3 ships, older models. Minimal shielding. Perfect, Dong Hyuk said, his eyes lighting up. This will be an excellent opportunity to test the new targeting algorithms. The Vayari ambassador's voice came through the communication channel, sounding worried. Commander Yoon, surely this is not the time for testing experimental systems. On the contrary, Ambassador, Dong Hyuk replied cheerfully. Real combat conditions are the best way to verify our improvements. Loading targeting program version 2.4 now. The bridge crew worked with practiced efficiency, but there was an unmistakable excitement in the air. Several officers pulled out data tablets to record the test results. Sir, the weapons officer called out, should we use the standard plasma cannons or try out the new graviton pulse system? Why not both? Dong Hyuk grinned. We can compare their effectiveness. There was a moment of silence from the Vayari ship. Then a frightened voice asked, you're going to test multiple experimental weapons. in actual combat. Of course, Dong Huk said, it would be a waste not to collect data from both systems. Engineering has been eager to see how the graviton pulse performs against real targets. The pirates, who had been monitoring the communication channels, suddenly increased their speed. They had faced human ships before, but something about the crew's enthusiasm made them very nervous. First target locked, announced the weapons officer, firing plasma cannon with the new targeting algorithm. Now, the beam of superheated plasma curved through space in a way that should have been impossible, following the lead pirate ship as it tried to evade. The impact was precise and devastating. Excellent, Dong Huk exclaimed. The trajectory compensation is working perfectly. Make sure to save all the tracking data for engineering. They'll want to analyze the performance metrics. Second target acquired, the weapons officer reported, sounding equally excited. Initiating graviton pulse test sequence. The Vayari ambassador watched in horror as the human crew treated the battle like a scientific experiment, carefully documenting every shot and eagerly discussing possible improvements to their weapon systems. Look at that energy efficiency curve, someone called from the engineering station. The graviton pulse is performing even better than our simulations predicted. The remaining pirate ships turned and fled at maximum speed. On their communication channels, they could be heard warning others, stay away from the human ships. They're not fighting. They're testing weapons, and they're enjoying it. Should we pursue? Asked the navigation officer, looking hopeful. We still haven't tested the new engine modifications. Better not, Dong Huk said reluctantly. The Vayari representatives seem a bit unsettled. He glanced at the communication screen, where the Vayari ambassador and his staff were huddled together, staring at the human crew with a mixture of awe and terror. Commander Yoon, the ambassador said carefully, your crew seems very enthusiastic about combat situations. Oh, this is nothing, Dong Huk replied. You should see us when we get to test the really interesting equipment. Last month, we had a chance to try out a new type of quantum torpedo. The temporal displacement effects were fascinating. The Vayari ambassador's image disappeared as they cut the communication channel. Dong Huk could see their ship slowly backing away from the Intrepid. Sir, the sensor officer reported, I'm detecting multiple distress signals. The pirates are warning all ships in the sector to avoid human vessels. Excellent data collection opportunity, Dong Huk noted. Make sure to forward all the test results to research and development. They'll want to start working on improvements right away. Dr. Hai Jin Kwan sat across from the Vayari's chief synapsychologist in a quiet meeting room aboard the International Space Station. The blue-skinned alien looked troubled as he reviewed the latest research data on human behavior. So you're telling me, the Vayari scientist said slowly, that humans don't just create weapons because they need them. That's correct, Hai Jin replied, pulling up a holographic display. Look at this engineering team led by senior designer Jin Wusong. They spent 6 months improving a standard defense laser, even though the old version worked perfectly well. The Vayari leaned forward, all 4 eyes focused on the display. But why? The original system was adequate for its purpose. Because they thought they could make it better, Hai Jin explained. And more importantly, because they found the challenge exciting. The video showed Jin Wu's team working late into the night, testing different configurations. They weren't tired or frustrated. They were smiling, laughing, and celebrating each small improvement. Notice their behavior, Hai Jin pointed out. See how they react when they achieve a 2% increase in efficiency. That's pure joy. The Vayari made notes on his tablet, his hands trembling slightly. In our species, weapons development is seen as a grim necessity. No one would ever describe it as joyful. That's what makes humans unique, Hai Jin said. We see technical challenges as puzzles to solve. Whether it's a better coffee maker or a more efficient plasma cannon, the excitement is the same. The video changed to show a weapons testing range. Junior engineers were gathered around a new prototype. taking notes and suggesting improvements. Their eyes were bright with enthusiasm. These young ones, the Vayari observed, they treat it like a game. Not exactly, Hyjin corrected. They take the work very seriously, but they genuinely enjoy the process of making things better. Watch what happens when the prototype exceeds its performance targets. On screen, the entire engineering team burst into cheers when their weapon system achieved a new accuracy record. They hugged each other and immediately began discussing ways to improve it further. This is why diplomatic meetings often go wrong, Hyjin explained. When our engineers start talking about weapons, they're not trying to be threatening. They're sharing something they're passionate about, like someone talking about their favorite hobby. The Vayari xenopsychologist replayed the celebration scene, studying it carefully. And this behavior, it's common among humans. Very common, Hyjin confirmed, especially in technical fields. Look at this forum thread from last week. She showed him a discussion where hundreds of engineers were excitedly debating the best way to enhance a shield generator's power output. The conversation had gone on for days, with participants building on each other's ideas. They do this in their free time, the Vayari asked, his voice barely a whisper. Some of our best innovations have come from these casual discussions, Hyjin said proudly. When humans get excited about solving a technical problem, they can be quite creative. The Vayari sat back in his chair, looking thoughtful. I believe I understand now. The reason humans advance so quickly in military technology is because we enjoy the challenge, Hyjin finished. Yes, it's not about wanting to harm others. It's about the satisfaction of making something work better. This explains much, the Vayari said, looking at his notes. When we first encountered your species, we thought your enthusiasm for weapons was a sign of aggression. Now I see it's something far more interesting, and perhaps more concerning. Oh. Hyjin raised an eyebrow. Yes, the Vayari nodded. A species that builds weapons out of necessity will stop when the need is met. But a species that builds weapons because they enjoy the challenge will never stop trying to make them better. Hyjin completed his thought, smiling. The Galactic Council chamber was filled with representatives from 50 different species. At the podium, weapons specialist Su Min Cho stood next to a nervous-looking representative from a newly discovered civilization called the Orcs. And this, Su Min said enthusiastically, is just our basic planetary defense system. Nothing special, really. Would you like to see how it works? Before the Orcs could respond, Supreme Commander Xith of the Vayari quickly stepped forward. Perhaps we should begin with something less exciting. But I haven't even shown them the orbital platforms yet, Su Min protested. The new targeting systems are amazing. We've managed to reduce response time by 43% using quantum computing arrays. The Arxian delegate's antenna began to twitch nervously. Other council members exchanged knowing looks. Specialist Cho, Sith said carefully, remember the new first contact protocols we discussed? Oh, right. Su Min looked slightly disappointed. I forgot that not everyone finds weapon systems as interesting as we do. Though I still don't understand why. The mathematical models for the energy distribution alone are fascinating. The Arxian delegate took a small step back. Your people enjoy studying weapons. Of course. Su Min brightened again. Just last week, my team made a breakthrough in plasma containment that increased efficiency by 200%. The test results were beautiful. Would you like to see the data? Sith quickly stepped between them. What Specialist Cho means is that humans have a unique approach to technical innovation. Unique is an understatement, muttered one of the older council members. Last month, I watched a human child explain to her parents why their home defense system needed upgrading, because the response time was too slow at 0.3 seconds. The Arxian's antenna twitched faster. Children. Some of our best ideas come from students, Su Min said proudly. There's this high school science club that recently proposed an interesting modification to our shield harmonics. Their math was excellent. The council chamber grew very quiet. The Arxian delegate looked at the other species representatives, seeking reassurance. They found none. "Don't worry," Sith said to the Arxian. "Humans aren't aggressive. They're just enthusiastic about technical improvements. All technical improvements, including weapons. Especially weapons," someone in the back added. "Speaking of improvements," Su Min said, pulling out a data tablet, "I've been working on some ideas for your civilization's defense systems. Your current setup is good, but if you just adjust the power distribution here and here." She began drawing diagrams in the air. The Arxian watched in growing alarm as Su Min excitedly explained potential upgrades to their entire planetary defense network, complete with efficiency calculations and suggested test protocols. "Is this normal?" the Arxian whispered to Sith. "For humans." "Completely," Sith replied. "This is actually quite restrained. You should see them at their technology exhibitions." The Arxian's translator took a moment to process this information. "They have exhibitions for weapons?" "Oh yes." Su Min overheard them. "The next one is in 3 months. You should come. We're unveiling a new type of defensive satellite array. The design principles are revolutionary." Sith noticed the Arxian's growing distress and quickly intervened. "Perhaps we should focus on cultural exchange first. Military technology can come later." "Much later," agreed several council members. "But the really interesting part about the satellite array," Su Min continued, still drawing diagrams, "is how we solve the power distribution problem. You see, by using a cascading quantum field." The Galactic Council watched as the human enthusiastically explained complex weapon systems to the increasingly nervous Arxian. They had learned their lesson. It wasn't human aggression they needed to worry about. It was human excitement.